Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. Here's more about our sponsors. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Symetra, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to the Women of Golf. And Cindy, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, although there's snow on the ground and in the air.
Well, we're going to warm you up today.
We leave tomorrow for boot camp in Orlando, so I'm going to see the sun and see my granddaughters, and Kelly is down filming Ricky Fowler this week for the Golf Channel for Golf Pass. So she'll be back on Friday. So I get to see everybody, and then we get to help 7 people from all over the country get better at golf, which is awesome.
That's right. I think that is fantastic. So a pre-welcome to the sunny South tomorrow, so that'll be fun to have you down there. All right, we got a great show this morning. We're going to be joined here just a brief moment by a young lady from the Symetra Tour, Gigi Stoll. She's going to be joining us here. And then a little bit later on, Elisa Gaudet, the founder of Women's Golf Day, is going to be joining us on the second half. We're excited to have both of them. So Gigi, of course, started her rookie season in 2019 on the Symetra Tour, Cindy, where she claimed 3 top 5 finishes, and she also attended the University of Arizona. So let's bring her out and let's see what she's got cooking for 2021. Let's welcome our special guest.
Good morning,
Gigi Stoll.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate you getting up bright and early. We appreciate you getting up bright and early and joining us out in Arizona a little bit earlier. But as Cindy said, you're youthful and you've got the energy to do that. So, so Cindy, I'm going to let you go first and start the conversation.
You told us you're from Portland, Oregon. How long have you played golf?
I began golfing when I was 5 years old at Portland Golf Club. My dad was a professional golfer at one point, and I always played golf growing up, but I always played other sports as well. And when I got into high school, I kind of decided that golf was what I really wanted to do.
That's awesome. Awesome. Now, did you play in lots of junior tournaments?
Yeah, I did. I began playing competitively when I was about 8. I played in the Oregon Golf Association events and just saw my talent at a young age and just really wanted to play golf.
Wow. Well, that's easy. Did you get it? Did you graduate from U of A?
I did, yeah.
And what was your major?
Sports business.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Sports business was awesome because
go ahead.
I was able to learn about more of the business side of my career currently.
Yeah, like you're brilliant. What a great idea. Now remember that we said when you win, whether it's on Symetra or LPGA Tour, you have to come back and you can't be too cool. Do you promise to do that?
It's a deal.
Okay, cool.
I won't be too
What's
cool.
the best? Okay, good. What's the best part of your game?
The best part of my game probably right now is driving it off the tee. I think last year I was top 10 on accuracy and top 10 in distance off the tee last year.
No way. You're long and straight?
Call me Rory.
What the hell? Nobody's long and straight. That's awesome. Can you putt?
Putting's my number 2 category.
Come on. Really?
Yeah, pretty confident.
We got to bet on this kid. This kid is like money.
Yeah. I'm suddenly feeling really bad about myself. Now, I thought I had a pretty good game, but I can't even come close to that. So I think I'm going to take up another sport and get out of the Yeah, that's incredible.
Does your dad teach you?
Teach me a lot in my game.
Okay. Good. Ted, I'll shut up now. You can ask her something.
No, that's all right. I'm actually learning something here. I'm taking notes as we're having this conversation. So, Gigi, let me ask you something just to go back to what we were just talking about here. A lot of players, and I think this was really the point that Cindy was getting at, is very few players sort of have an overall game of that caliber. They're either long and maybe not so straight, or the opposite. They're very accurate, but maybe not having a lot of distance. And then you've got obviously a pretty good putting game to back that up as well, which is really the complete package. So, given that, and you've been out now on the Symetra, this is going to be your 3rd season going into the Symetra Tour. You've come really, really close. What do you think, if you look back and assess your own game, what has prevented you thus far from getting that number 1 spot?
I think overall is just consistency throughout the year. We played 20 events, and I think in my rookie season, 2019, I really learned a lot about how to maintain that consistency throughout the season, conserving your energy. We play at times 8 weeks in a row, and so just understanding what your body needs and what you really need to succeed week in and week out. And I think kind of just putting all those things together this year will play a huge role into my success.
Do you think, again, 2019 being your rookie season, you've come from the University of Arizona where you've played as part of a team. Now suddenly you're out there essentially on your own. Did that take some adjustment on your part? And tell us a little bit about the travel, because obviously, on the Symetra, you're not, hopping on planes and off planes most of the time. Most of the girls that are playing on Symetra are, some of them might carpool with one another, but you're essentially traveling on your own from event to event. Did you find the travel and that sort of, week in, week out grind a little bit overwhelming at times?
Yeah, like I said, the transition from college to the professional lifestyle, you're your own team now, and you kind of have to figure out who is your team and how they can help you, help conserve energy. Like I said, we play 8 weeks straight in 2019, and just figuring out which events you're going to play in, how you're going to conserve your energy. Like you said, we travel in our car, so we'll play 3-4 days in a row and then hop in your car and drive 8 hours and then get to your destination and you have a practice round waiting for you. So figuring out, where I need to only play 9 holes, in a practice round, and just resting and getting ready is really huge. And it's something you don't really think about, like I drive 8 hours and I'm like, why am I so tired? But it's because I just drove 8 hours, and you don't really realize how much energy you're using.
Yeah, it's amazing. I know I've done many long distance travels in the car, and you're right. You're thinking, well, you're sitting there, and the car is taking you from A to B, but emotionally and mentally, you get fatigued, even if you make a few pit stops along the way. So, again, going back 2019, you come out, you had a really good season, you had some great finishes in that, and then unfortunately the pandemic hit last year, which kind of threw the schedule out of whack. What did you do to keep yourself focused? I mean, you didn't play probably about half the events in 2020 as you would have in 2019. What did you do once things started moving forward a little bit and you were able to get back out and play? What did you do before then to keep yourself sort of in shape and in tune with your game?
Yeah, in 2020, it was a really hard year. I personally only played 7 Symetra events. So just the mental headspace was a little different. We had to quarantine, we had to pass COVID tests. So a lot of 2020 was just an adjustment period, kind of understanding what 2021 was going to be like. And I think 2020 was just kind of an interesting year for just the mental headspace, but getting myself in shape and getting myself working with my coach on the little things that I thought would propel me into this year was kind of what I was focusing on in 2020.
Yeah, I think that's some interesting points there because, it's hard when you can't get out there. You're not competing week in, week out. The schedule was very, spotty throughout parts of the season, especially early on. You guys started off the first event, and then all of a sudden, everything was shut down for I think, a couple of months. Something I want to pick up on. You mentioned, being in sort of that team environment in the University of Arizona, and then coming out onto Symetra, you're sort of your own, cheering section and so forth. What do you do because you don't have your teammates to sort of rely on to pick you up when things aren't going well? What do you say to yourself, or what do you do when you're in a moment or in a tournament, whatever the case may be, where things are not going the way you want? What do you do to pick yourself up? And what's your internal dialogue that you go through? Yeah,
so having a caddy or someone kind of traveling with me is huge. I mean, they're kind of my support system, and we spitball things off each other and just talk about the things, that make me happy on the course. And having that person there is definitely key for me. But what's been nice is actually being able to travel with some girls on the Symetra tour, and rooming with them, and just being able to kind of get away from golf off the golf course.
Yeah, I think that's crucial to have somebody there. And one thing, Cindy and I, we've gotten to realize, doing the interviews with many of the winners from the Symetra over the years, is that there's been a lot of great friendships. Even though you're competing and you're, figuratively speaking, you're trying to beat each other's brains out in the golf course, you actually do form some very long, bonds, if you will, with some of the other players that, carry on when you get out to the LPGA and so forth. So it's obviously a very close-knit group. Cindy, I'm going to let you pick up from here.
Yeah, speaking of that, I played college golf at Miami, and we won a couple of NCAA championships, and those girls are still friends of mine. And I'm not even going to tell you how many years ago it was, but it's really, really important. And the other thing, what I find, my husband and I, he played on the men's tour for 15 years, and our son kind of grew up, we've got 3 kids, but one of them plays, and he's down at the Azalea right now that starts Thursday. He said his friends were asking him, "Why are you driving to the tournament?" He says, "Because I want to." And as much as you might hate driving all those miles from tournament to tournament, once it's in your blood, it's almost like a circus act. I love getting in the car. We play a Legends Tour event in Boston, and I love getting in the car and just driving to Boston. I can get on a plane, but you will find that all these things that you're doing, they'll stick with you for a long, long time. So what's your favorite thing about playing on tour?
I love traveling. I love seeing the different locations that we go to. 2019 was really fun for me because I traveled to a lot of states that I had never touched. And, like I said, getting to know some of the girls on tour and making those friendships has been really fun, but also just competing week in and week out. I love just the grind and getting out there and just doing what I love.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So give us an example of your week. You start Thursday. What do you do on Monday? Do you do anything?
Yeah, Monday I'll usually play an 18-hole practice round, and then from there I'll kind of just assess what I feel like I need to do, whether it's I need to see the course more, or I need to practice more. So Tuesday I'll likely play a practice round, whether it's 9 holes or 18 holes, and then practice before or after. And then Wednesday we have a Pro-Am typically, and this week I am in the Pro-Am. So I'll play 9 holes with an amateur, or 3 amateurs, and then tournament starts.
Do you, when you play your practice round on Monday, now, I'm going to back that question up. The hardest thing for me was when I was on the tour. I played the mini tour, and then I played on the LPGA tour for 3 years, was the first year when you hadn't been to the city or the golf course, and it's like, okay, where am I going? And so the second year was so much easier because I can turn into a little bit of an anal idiot with a yardage book and like, okay, wait, how am I going to play this hole? Do you take more time playing a practice round at a course that you've never been to for the first time?
Yeah, definitely. I think 2019 was definitely more tiring because of that, because I had to learn the golf courses a little bit more when a lot of the girls had already played a few years or had been out there. And so just learning the conditions of the course or learning, the layout of the land takes a little bit more time if you've never been there. And so I think going into this year, had been to a lot of the events already. Now I can kind of just play the golf course, and I have like a little bit more lay of the land.
Awesome. Ted?
So, Gigi, you're living in Las Vegas. You're originally from Oregon. Obviously, that's a little bit of a difference. Do you find, playing and practicing in Las Vegas, I guess a different experience? Obviously you've got it's a lot warmer in Las Vegas. What was the appeal to going to Las Vegas? Why there as opposed to another area?
So I spend a lot of time in Phoenix. My golf coach is in Phoenix, and at the beginning of the pandemic back in last March, I was spending a lot of time in Phoenix, and the course I was practicing actually shut down because of COVID. And so I wasn't really sure what to do, and I have family in Las Vegas. So I drove up from Phoenix to Las Vegas and kind of got stuck there and just decided to stay once I got there because I fell in love with Reflection Bay, which is where I practice now and play out of, and just fell in love with the course. I really like the golf community there. It's a little bit smaller, but growing. So I really just found Las Vegas to be a good spot for me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. It's obviously a much different climate than probably what you're typically been used to growing up. What's going to be your game plan for this year? Obviously, your number one is you want to get out and win tournaments and that, but you're obviously chasing your LPGA card. What's going to be your focus this year? What primarily is going to be your goals that you're going to set for the season?
And see, I think in 2019, I did have a lot of top finishes, but I did also miss quite a few cuts. And I think making more cuts this year is definitely a huge goal. Just performance week in and week out, energy conservation week in and week out, and just really grinding and not getting down on myself really ever this year is a huge goal for me.
Yeah, and that's difficult. We've had some of the young ladies on here before, and especially after a few seasons sometimes, especially if things aren't going your way, It's very easy to, lose the faith, if you will, for lack of better words. When you say, obviously we understand when you're saying you want to, improve and be more consistent. When you didn't make cuts or when you didn't get to that number one spot, was there a particular part of your game? Was it your putting? Was it just the overall accuracy? Not hitting enough greens? What was sort of the areas typically that were creating the most problems for you when you were playing?
Typically, I found myself either tired or getting kind of sloppy and missing more greens than I should, and not really having that mental focus, just being ready to tee off. And I think saving my energy and knowing what headspace is best for me to compete in, I think those things translate into my golf game. And I think just being aware of that and knowing, how I can get in that better headspace before the round starts. I think those things kind of do carry over into missing greens and not being able to perform at my best. And so I think just understanding how to get there is definitely going to be key for me.
What about off the golf course when you're not playing? It doesn't matter what level of player you are, you have to have some downtime. You have to have other things that keep you interested. What do you enjoy doing when you're not playing golf? Are there just kind of go home and chill, or do you like to do other things? What does Gigi do when she's not on the golf course?
Yeah, I like to come home and chill. I hang out with, some of the girls that I'm traveling with, and we find fun things to do just to get my head away from golf. I also just like to get creative sometimes. I like to write some music lyrics, and that just puts me in a different place, a totally different, mind frame, and just a time to relax.
I think it's important I would agree. I think that's important to have, something else, because you can't have your head in the game all the time, because it just, after a while, it just becomes, I think, a little overwhelming. You talked about a little while ago that, your dad sort of started things off, taught you a lot of things, and then you obviously have a coach that you're working with. What do you remember through your earlier days the most that your dad taught you about this game? My
dad has played a huge influence in me starting golf and my journey in golf. And, just little things here and there. Like he taught me how to hit a bunker shot, and like just little tiny things kind of reside with me that he's told me just throughout my life. And subconsciously, his tips are there still in my brain. And just knowing that he is my support system and he's there for me when I need him, that's the biggest thing for me and our relationship.
I think that's fantastic. Are you beating him now when you play?
He actually quit golf when I started beating him. He doesn't play golf anymore.
Come on.
It's sad, but it's true.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He's stepping aside and he's letting his daughter be the shining star. Good for him.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Let me ask you something. If you were to give some advice to a young girl who's not sure how much she likes this game because it is mental torture, but she thinks, she's got some talent, she wants to play, but she's not as good as she needs to be. She's on a high school team. She needs to, let's say she's shooting like 80 to 85. Wants to play college golf, and she's a sophomore in high school. What would you tell her?
I would probably tell her, firstly, probably get a swing coach that motivates you or, gives you kind of an inspiration or, just kind of some guidance. I know a lot of girls who play can't really get over the hump. And I think having someone who can help you out, whether it's even your high school or just someone at a country club that has played the game long enough, but that guidance and maybe that motivation or inspiration that they need could go a long way.
Got it. Awesome. Ted?
Very interesting. Would you, Gigi, consider yourself to be a really analytical player? Are you more of a field player? How would you rate yourself? What bracket would you consider yourself to be? Or something different?
I'm probably the furthest thing from analytical. I played basketball growing up. I played up until my senior year of high school, and I think a lot of what I did in basketball, I take my athleticism and feel, and I just take that on the golf course. And I only have one or two things that I'm thinking about during a round, and other than that, I just let my athleticism and feel take over.
I think that's great. If golf was not in the picture, what else would you like to be doing right now?
I think I would definitely still want to be in the sports industry in some way. Like I said, I graduated with a sports business degree. I'm not sure exactly what I would enjoy doing in the sports industry, but I just love everything about the competitive nature of sports, and being right in there would be so much fun.
Would you like to do, for instance, maybe into the broadcasting end of things, or maybe in teaching, that kind of area? As something like Cindy, even though she played, she's an extremely accomplished LPGA teacher professional. Would that be something that, maybe you might even consider down the road doing?
Yeah, I've definitely pondered it. I love helping people, and I think, coaching, instruction would be really fun to do somewhere down the line for sure.
Very good. Well, Gigi, good luck this week and the rest of the season, and we hope to see you back very, very soon. And just have a great season. Go out and have fun, and I think your dad's going to be very, very excited when that first win comes through.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and I really enjoyed it.
Good luck, honey.
We appreciate it.
You're going to do great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good day. All right. That was Gigi Stoll. What a great young lady. It's very interesting. Cindy, I know we've said this many, many times on the show, but it's always interesting when you hear these young ladies talk about themselves and talk about their games. There's never an arrogant tone. It's always a very humble, but very direct and to the point. They know what they want, and it's just really a testament to where women's golf is today. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's women's golf. I think it's junior golf. I think they've all trained for so long. I mean, she said she started playing in tournaments when she was 8. This is not a new thing. But you can also hear how much she wants it. And the humbling part is no one gets to choose when they win, right? Otherwise, we all win every week. And those are the lessons the game teaches, which I think are great. The game of golf and life, needless to say. But God bless her. She's gonna make it, because you hit it that long, that straight, and you can putt. That's money.
Yeah. I think really the only thing that ever really gets in anybody's way when you've got that kind of talent is, what's going on up between your ears, the mental side of the game and your thought. And it sounds like she's got a good handle on that as well. So I agree. I think she's going to do extremely well this season. Last season for many of them, it was kind of a setback because it was, with what we're all dealing with. But I think she's going to come out strong this year now that they're coming back to pretty much a full season. and she seems, certainly anxious to get out there and move forward. So I think we'll have her back on before season's end. All right, before we bring Elisa out, let me just go to a quick commercial here from Golf Tips.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple to follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, we're very excited to have back on the show. It's been a few years since she's been on, but Elisa Gaudet is the founder of the Women's Golf Day. She's a very, very interesting guest and good round series, which includes rounds, 19 stories from the world.
Good morning, Ted and Cindy. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. We appreciate you joining us again, and we're glad that you're joining us early this morning. So where are you currently right now, Elisa, just before we start?
In West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay, so you're kind of somewhat in I'm in Northwest Florida right now, so you're kind of in my neck of the woods, so we're pretty much on the same time zone in that. So let me just start things off real quick here, and let's talk about last season with Women's Golf Day, which I believe is June 1st. Is that correct?
Yes, this year it's June 1st. It's always the first Tuesday in June.
Okay. What about last season, given the global pandemic? Was that did that have to be canceled, or were you able to continue forward with the event? Tell us what happened last year.
So what we decided to do was last year was a June 2nd date, was to move the date for the actual events to September. At the time we're doing this, it was probably March, April, as everybody else was changing dates, either delaying or canceling. So we pushed ours to September, and the first Tuesday in September, and we decided to do a digital day. And we reached out to all the people that we've partnered with everybody from the USGA, the RNA, PGA of America, as well as a lot of the MCOs, whether it was Troon or Club Corp, anybody that had, and some individuals that have worked with us, and First Tee and everybody, because we really do kind of are somewhat of an anomaly, I think, in the golf industry, that we kind of get everybody to play in the sandbox for this one event. But they all gave us videos, and we now have over 50 videos on our website, and we kind of we launched them all on that day, and it was free. Anybody could go. And we broke it down under our pillars to engage, empower, and support. So once again, we never want to compete with anybody. We hope that we are creating a funnel there's so many amazing teaching professionals out there, male and female, that we really just want to kind of shine a light to have people go to them and just, get them involved and get them excited, and existing golfers similarly, reinvigorate them. So that's what we did, and those videos are there for anybody to watch anytime. And we have, a wonderful message from Jack and Barbara and Susie Whaley, and whether it's from the industry, a wonderful story from a young woman from a First Tee program. I believe it was First Tee of Connecticut. So yeah, it's really nice.
So let me just ask you about Women's Golf Day. When did you sort of come up with that idea to do that? And why did you decide to do it?
So it was in 2016, and I've been in the industry for 20 years now. And I've been to a number of conferences, like many of us, that especially on the business side of golf, and had heard over and over how they wanted to get more women into golf. but it never really felt like there was an actionable plan. You know, it was, and I think it's difficult. You know, it's not an easy thing. I mean, people have the best of intentions. And I was at a conference, a Sports Business Journal conference in Manhattan, and I remember that they were talking. There were some people talking from the NFL, NBA, MLB, and how they were seeing women as economic influencers and targeting them specifically, whether it was to buy shirts at Christmas, and I'm sure we've all heard these commercials, you know, buy their favorite shirt for their niece, granddaughter, grandson, what have you, and they have a woman's voice. So they were approaching it that way, and I, you know, thought that we really hadn't done a good job of doing that, of really seeing the economic power that women yield and what that means to the golf industry. Be that buying a home on a golf course, having your children play golf, hosting your daughter's wedding at a country club. A lot of those things generate a lot more revenue than having a woman play once a week all year long. So that is kind of what the impetus was. And then, I talked to a lot of the MCOs. I talked to Troon and Club Corp and PGA Tour Superstore at the time, the people that were in the, marketing divisions. And we came up with, they gave me some advice as to don't do it on a Monday, do it on a Tuesday, do it in June, early in the year, at the beginning of the golf season. And we at the time, remember, we were just thinking this is going to be maybe a U.S.-Canada thing. There wasn't a business plan laid out, raise capital, and let's go execute on this. It was kind of a side project. Cynthia Howard from the PGA Tour is a good friend. I used to work for the PGA Tour. So a couple of people that we had, they were veterans, worked on this, and I beta tested it at Granite Links in Boston. So with a bunch of women, and all the data that I've been reading over the years, and most recently that said women were quick to come into the game, but equally as quick to leave. They didn't feel comfortable. It took too long. They didn't feel like there was products or things for them. They didn't understand how the game worked or what have you. So all of that stuff, we just flipped it. So what Women's Golf Day is an event in a box, and it is a format that works. 4-hour experience. The first 2 hours are golf, and women show up, and they either have the choice of taking lessons, so it'd be an hour on the driving range, an hour chipping and putting, or play 9 holes, and preferably in a scramble, because this is more about unity, community, playing together than competition on this particular day. And then the second 2 hours is socializing. So in that moment as well, it kind of breaks down barriers to get women get more comfortable. You can have a CEO that's never played golf, and you have a stay-at-home mom that's a single-digit handicap. You just don't know. There's so many different ways that works out. And women are social beings, and we're communicators and community, and just learn differently, I think, to some degree than men, or that's the way, there's some preferences of how they prefer to do things. So that's what happened, and it organically took off. We didn't do any advertising. We had 400 and some odd locations in 28 countries the first year. And now, we're up to 900 locations in 68 countries. And I think when you think about that for a minute, wow. 68 countries, all of us can probably name 10 that you would naturally, 10, 15 that you naturally think of for golf. Mm-hmm. So we're in Uganda, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, 6 Muslim countries. So that's the part I'm super proud of. I think we really are creating, this year very much, I keep saying, I think for our team and for everybody, what our job is to create opportunity and unity. Just giving women opportunities and creating that kind of unity, camaraderie. We've always heard about the fraternity of golf. Well, I think this is the sorority of golf.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you certainly have done a fantastic job, especially in such a short time, to get it to the level that it is. And it's just, like you said, every year it's growing and growing and growing. And you've done and you and your team have done a fantastic job and really, welcoming women of all, ages, backgrounds, and so forth into the game, many for the first time. And that's really, what we need to do is, it's very easy to say grow the game, but you have to do it in such a way that's going to want to make them as you said, feel welcome and want to stay in the game. I'm going to bring Cindy in here into the conversation. Cindy, I know you've got some questions for Elisa.
How many women, once they do the day, continue to play? Do you have any numbers on that?
No, we don't really have too much. We're starting to do some studies this year. We're doing one right now with Acushnet, and we're going to do one with the NGF. So we don't really track it. So, we do our best, but, we're trying to be like, it's a little tough sometimes to be all things to all people. But we would love to partner with like PGA of America, USGA, where those stats are important. It's kind of hard because I always say we're like the New York Marathon inverted. And I don't know that, the New York Marathon knows how many times people went running before they did the marathon or, if they continued after. So, we know we get a lot of testimonials. We get a lot of people that write in, whether it's through social media or directly to us. We've heard some phenomenal stories of how people have gone on to actually was so engaged by it, became a PGA teaching pro and stories like that. But we don't have any like hard data of who went on after. The thing that we do here is that most of the locations, they have exponential growth. And there are things that we can track when we work with things like the MCOs and the multi-course owners, so somebody like a Club Corp or even Troon, or, where they are controlling a number of different locations. They can give us data like year on year, and they grow every year, these events, and people look forward to it. It's the same date, So we have seen that.
That's great. If someone's listening and they know a woman who would love to do this, how would they sign up for this year?
Sure. So it's womensgolfday.com. And on our site, there's 2 buttons right there on the top. There's a couple different places, but it says find a location. And we just went through a huge website overhaul. And what I highly encourage women is no matter where you are, even if you're in a city, because we have private courses, public courses, resort courses, and off-site. So it could be 5-iron in Manhattan or all of the 46 PGA Tour Superstores, which we just did a partnership with last week. And, they're very much getting behind this and wanting to do not just that, but things throughout the year. So that you can go on and you put in your zip code, your country, what have you, and it's going to pull up all the locations that are near you. And then you can also choose, like I said, even Top Golf, if you want to have that, or if you're a really beginner, you just feel comfortable walking into a store sometimes is a little more comfortable than showing up to a golf course. So anything that, feels most compelling to them, I encourage people to look in May, the beginning of May, late April, beginning of May, because all of the locations are coming on now, every year. It's for various reasons, and now even because of COVID and what have you, just to let it populate. And if a location wants to go, awesome. We obviously encourage them to go on. It says right there, register a location, and we encourage them to go on and register a location and participate.
So if a woman, let's say she lives in a big city and she doesn't want to walk into a golf course, she could go into a PGA Superstore and ask them, how do I participate in Women's Golf Day this year? Yes?
She can go in there and ask them, but she can she can go to on that day, they host a Women's Golf Day event. They do it in their simulators, they do it on the putting green, they do clinics, they have refreshments.
Okay, so it's not off-site, it's right there. That's great.
Right there, yes. Mm-hmm. And even, like I said, there's others that are just, one-offs or places that have 1 or 2. We try to work with everybody. As long as they have, like, a simulator or putting area, any retail location, we want to make it accessible, and usually those are free. So it's even better, there's like no harm, no foul. Like, you're not going to lose much by going.
Absolutely.
And that's been something that's been very rewarding too. Is that the industry is really wanting to get behind it and do it. Like I said, in the last year or two, we've had I see development. It's not to necessarily plug them, but it's just see the people that are genuinely interested. Like we said, it takes more than just talking about it. So, Callaway partnered with us at the end of last year before our September event, and they launched a club called Reva. They actually did the research and development to develop clubs designed for women. So, I think those kind of things that we're seeing as well, Titleist with the golf ball, FootJoy, we're seeing them making products and doing things specifically for the female market. Which is nice.
Which is what they need
money
to
with
be
their mouth
doing.
is, right?
I totally agree. Ted?
Yeah, I think that's fantastic and long overdue. Alyssa, let me ask you something. I want to go back to something you were just talking about with sort of the non-traditional golf locations, and I'm referring to not out in the golf course. I think that's great that the PGA, Superstores and, Top Golf and some of these other locations offer women to participate for a number of reasons. Obviously, it gives more places for them to go to. But also, I think for maybe some women that are, very, very new to the game, never played, and maybe a little more intimidated in actually going out and playing, a round out on a golf course, this gives them a way of participating and kind of dipping their toes in the water, if you will, and learning a little bit through some of the clinics and things that they're offering. So I think that's a great approach to do that. I want to go back real quick to, I know on the website, if a location wants to register, but what typically are you doing right now to sort of reach out to some of these other courses? Do you have some marketing campaigns and things that you're reaching out to a lot of these different communities and saying, hey, this is something that we think you guys would like to be involved in, or what's your process to try and attract more locations?
Yeah, so
and
we
more
have
countries,
ambassadors.
actually.
Yeah, so we have ambassadors in a number of countries, and we work with them because obviously they can explain it in their language. And there's no hard selling here. There's a nominal fee for these locations to join. We don't charge the consumer. The event can be public or private, and they can charge a fee or not charge a fee. It's their own micro business for the day. And because of that, we have everybody from, as we've already mentioned, the PGA Tour Superstore and these type of locations, munis, resort courses, Olympic Club, Valderrama, Westchester, all around the world. So that's also an advantage because they can do a member appreciation day or a member invite a guest to, just out on a driving range. We work with, as I mentioned before, so it's the RNA has been hugely helpful. We work with the PGA of America, USGA, all of the MCOs so that, as I mentioned before, Club Corp and Troon and Billy Casper, I know changed to Indigo, and a number, Kemper, everybody. That's the easier way, through that. All the federations we send out. So we send out emails once a month. We don't bombard people, but I think by now too people are aware of it because we are working with the NGF and the International Golf Federation and the federations individually. So this year we had it on, and we set goals every year. And some of it, obviously, because of the fact that the RNA is responsible for the governing of golf outside the U.S. and Mexico, they kind of indicated to us as well. And we worked with them, and we went into Japan, which, God willing, the Olympics will happen. So our event will be a month before the Olympics starts, and we do have a couple courses. And it's launching in Japan, and with that, we did our website is in Japanese, French, and Spanish this year. So, these are all pretty big undertakings. We're still kind of a small team. But, we're going to be in Japan for the first time, Argentina for the first time. France we've been in, but we're looking to have a lot more courses, and we brought on an ambassador there, and the same with Spain. So, that's what we do. And we just also messaging the MCOs. Like I said, I feel like this is the ultimate Jerry Maguire. Help me, help you. Because think about it. What do we gain out of it? Ours is a one-day, like I said, the New York Marathon inverted. Instead of everybody coming to us, we go to them. But who this helps are the retail locations, the people that are looking to drive membership, the people that are looking to give classes that are engaging women. So that's I do. I think these organizations understand that this is something that can help them. Yeah,
golf is definitely something that, we're seeing more and more women executives, for instance, are taking to the links, if you will. They're recognizing the power of what golf can do them from a business standpoint. You mentioned something earlier, and I just want to, would love to hear your thoughts on this. You mentioned, or you touched on, how many women, come into the game, but we seem to be losing a lot as well. In your thoughts from what you've uncovered over your 20 plus years in the industry, what could the industry be doing differently we're certainly seem to be attracting a lot based on some of the more recent numbers. I think this past season, despite the pandemic, we had nearly 500,000 new female golfers. But if we're losing close to that, or maybe even more each season, there must be something that we could or should be doing differently to make them want to stay in the game or continue on in the game. What would your thoughts be on how we could approach this a little differently from the industry standpoint in order to keep them in the game?
Yeah. The number one thing I think, and women, yes, but I think it may apply to a lot more than just women, too long. Make 9 holes like socially acceptable and, good. And I'm not the only one. Jack's been saying this for years. I know he talks about 12 holes, Jack Nicklaus.
Right.
But I really do think, if you think about it, people just don't have the time that they can take the whole day usually and just blow off their family or whatever. There's so much you can look at. People are getting married later in life, having children later, all of that. So you can't just do, necessarily leave for the day unless you get your whole family involved, which is one way. But I do think 9 holes, because if you think about it, you're still looking at 4 hours. You go there, you warm up a little, you play 9 holes, and you want to at least have a bite or a drink. I mean, you don't negate the 19th hole. I have a book series on that. But
right.
I do think that is the social aspect. And given the fact that studies show or what have you, that women are more social beings, and that's important to them, community or, connectivity, that's going to be another important component. So I think that, and I do think that also they're seeing, like I said, when you see more products coming out for you, it's like anything. Even when you hear, what we've all done in the last year, learned some lessons, whether it's about inclusion, and you listen to African Americans and Black people, and they're saying, hey, listen, there's nothing out there that represents me. There aren't dolls that look like me. There aren't, people that look like me in positions. So similarly, I think that's it. And when I talk to you about the videos, I think one of the important things we want to do with the videos was that we have, whether it's a young girl from the first tee or Jan Beljan, who's a female golf course architect who's now the president of the Architects, Association, show that there are people, show that there's Cindy Miller, hello, excellent example.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's women that are broadcasting, that are doing things, and sometimes, obviously, we take it for granted because we're so in the industry. We get 1,000 of these emails. We see this stuff all the time. But when you're a casual person and you walk into a store or your friend talks about it, you see it, you don't necessarily know about Jan Beljan or Cindy Miller. So we got to get that information in front of people, and so that they see that, not just only for them to participate, but feel welcome no matter who you are and where you come from. And that there's a path, and there's people doing it, as a business and other outlets besides just playing recreationally.
You raise a very interesting point. Right. Do you think it's more of a marketing problem as opposed to, because you mentioned something, you pointed a couple things out, like the Cindy Millers, like the Jan Beljan, and many others that are, helping to contribute to make this a great game. Do you think that overall that, again, not showing a lot of these great examples to the general public, it's one thing within the industry, we celebrate all of these great women who have, spearheaded, great careers both on and off the tour, and in business aspect. But you think that maybe we need to do a better job of marketing that information out to the masses so that they say, hey, you know what? It's not just a men's sport, or it's not just a pro tour sport. It's something that I can get involved with as well. What are your thoughts?
I think so very much, and I have all the respect in the world for the LPGA and the LET, and we work with them. But I think when it comes to women, even more than men, there's a big difference between professional golf and amateur golf. of what they want out of it. I think like men want to emulate and want to be like the tour players. Women, I feel, play golf because they want to connect, they want to relax, they want to be out in nature, they want to have a good time, they want to challenge themselves or compete. But it's not so much emulation like I see. You know, I worked for the PGA Tour, so I mean, I'm no expert. I've been around the block quite a while. I've seen all of this. And that's what we've seen and time again. And I mean, our thing has got to be proof positive. You know, we don't, like I just told you, we don't advertise. And we reach out to locations, governing bodies, all of that. And I think that we do need to do a better job. And I think it's through getting Cindy Miller, Renee Powell, Jan Valjean, young girls in Vogue magazine, in Glamour, not talking to ourselves. We did a lot of talking to ourselves for a lot of years. So I just think that I don't know who the PR machine that can help make that happen. But like I said, beyond people that have careers or that are doing, that's interesting no matter what we see about women that are engineers or, you know, have career tracks and they are breaking the glass ceiling. I think it would be interesting, you know, to see more of that in more mainstream. You know, and there is a difference because you can't compare or take necessarily a professional player. That's a different track. That's like any other, like NBA, NFL. You know, that's its own thing. We're talking about that every woman could be like, oh, I could do that, you know, or I can have have to have an extreme, amazing skill set to be able to do this. Oh,
you know,
and that's exactly.
That you saying this, I have to interject. We have 3 children, right? They all know how to play golf because you're going to learn to play golf because your parents are both pros. And only one of them is any good. And our daughter, the only reason she did interclub, right, was when she was 13. It was because she wanted to meet the boys at the other country clubs. And Kelly can barely break. She's broken 90 once. She plays once a year, could care less. She's, you know, senior production coordinator at the Golf Channel. Why? Because she understands the game. So I think we need to really communicate that you don't have to be good at this. It is something that's going to help change your life. And I think, you know, the First Tee tries to do that, but I think we're missing the boat. And the LPGA Girls Golf Club tries to do that. But I think we don't care how good or bad you are. Let's just go have fun and hit a ball.
And that's where we differentiate. I think that's the spot that we filled. That and we say whether you're young or old, and like with the First Tee, we encourage those locations to host the Women's Golf Day and ask that young girl to invite whoever she wants. It doesn't necessarily have to be her peer, her babysitter, her grandmother, her mother.
There you go.
You know, somebody. It's the most, you know, we break down all those barriers, and it's fun. We have women that put boas on and, you know, funny sunglasses. We encourage the locations. I mean, they started this a couple of years ago in Australia, and even I picked up on it because we did one 2 years ago, not this past 2019, at the David Ledbetter in Orlando. They had 124 women, and it was insane. And we just, you know, brought some of this stuff from, like, you know, a Party City kind of place, and it was just the best because, you know, social media and everything, people want to take pictures, and so it's pretty simple to do something, you know, standing in front of your club logo or what have you, and getting these women, and that's it. So it's fun, feel good, you know, and it's very the camaraderie. And I said, if you do competition, do things like most improved or closest to the pin or long drive, things like that. But we compete a lot, and I think everybody's kind of fried with Corona and everything else. I think
right.
We need to
I
have
just
more
go
supportive, loving environment we could all use. You know.
Totally agree.
Unless your paycheck is
job.
dependent upon it, like the lovely guest you had before me, you know, I think that, the rest of us,
Yeah, I think that's a great point, really, is, again, and that's what I was getting at about the marketing is, you know, really most people, including myself, what we see, you know, in the broad spectrum of marketing and media is at the tour level. And for most people, that's like, well, wait a minute, you know, unless you have aspirations of that and you've been working on it since, you know, as Gigi did since she was, you know, introduced the game at 5 and started playing in tournaments at 8, you know, we don't have a hope in heck of getting out there on the PGA or LPGA Tour. So, again, we have to certainly talk about those things and share that and market that. But I think the other side of the industry as well, and just sort of welcoming, what I call everyday folk out to the golf course just to have a good time, I think is something that is needed and has not been done as well as it could be. So that's something that we need to work on moving forward. Elisa, real quick, can you just remind everybody when Women's Golf Day is, and that website one more time if people want to go and get more information?
Yeah, absolutely. womensgolfday.com, WOMENS golfday.com. And our event is Tuesday, June 1st, all around the world. Starts in Australia and ends in Hawaii. So for 24 hours straight, it's going on somewhere. Same, our hashtag's at Women's Golf Day. You can follow it, seeing stuff going on. Definitely encourage everybody with our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all of those, LinkedIn. And May 25th, we'll have a digital day, virtual conference that'll be free to everybody. So looking forward to that as well. And we'll get you guys some more information as we get closer. But hopefully,
Perfect.
We can just make it more fun, feel good, and have as many women participate as possible.
And the digital event they can access
much.
off the website as well?
It's not on the website yet. It will be coming up.
Okay. All right. That's what I mean. That's where they can go to find more information as it becomes available. All right. Well, Elisa, thank you very much for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf. We appreciate it. And keep doing the great work that you're doing, not only bringing more and more women to the game, but empowering them through the many different events and different projects that you're working on. We appreciate it. And keep up the great work. And you're welcome back anytime to share with our audience.
Yes, and thank you greatly, because it is folks like yourself that help us get the word out more and get more people involved. It's a team effort.
Great job,
well, we're happy
my
to be
dear. Good luck.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. Elisa Gaudet, founder of Women's Golf Day. You can go to womensgolfday.com and check out more information. That is June 1st this year. And there'll be a lot of great events going on around the world. So check that out. Participate even more so. All right, we want to thank our very special guests for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf. As always, we appreciate it. And we appreciate you joining us here live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. I think that's it, Cindy. I think we're good to go. And I think we look forward to celebrating next week with our first winner from the Symetra Tour. So we hope you'll come back and join us. God bless everybody and have a great day. Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network, or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf Facebook page at www.facebook.com/womenofgolf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.